From Delaware's most award-winning radio news team, this is WDEL Video News. Here's Melanie Armstrong.
Among Delaware's top stories for Thursday, September 20th, a former Wilmington priest is sued again in a second sex abuse case, putting the spotlight on domestic violence deaths in Delaware, and a curtain call for a comedian in Wilmington. And now the details. Another lawsuit's being filed against a former Wilmington priest, charging him with sexually abusing a boy over several years. Attorney Tom Newberger says his client was molested over a 4-year period. 77-year-old Francis DeLuca has already been sentenced to prison by a court in Syracuse on the same charges with a different boy. Newberger claims DeLuca has a 40-year history of pedophilia. DeLuca served 35 years as a priest in the Catholic Diocese of Wilmington. Startling statistics about domestic violence deaths in Delaware. More from WDEL's Carl Konevsky.
Using the Newcastle County Courthouse as a backdrop and surrounded by silhouettes representing Delawareans murdered by someone they loved, the state's Domestic Violence Coordinating Council's Fatal Incident Review Team released a report documenting 92 domestic violence-related deaths in Delaware over the past 10 years. Retired Judge Vincent Poppity, co-chair of the review team, says one of the most tragic facts related to those deaths is that 89% of the victims didn't have protection from abuse orders filed with the courts.
There's no question it's just a piece of paper. There's no question you have to be strong enough to stand behind it. But that piece of paper represents an individual's effort to say enough is enough, and the system standing next to that person saying, we are there to provide protection for you.
The report shows 75% of the victims were women and 66 were murdered. State Senator Patty Blevins, chair of the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, says though case reviews done by the group's Fatal Incident Review Team are retrospective in nature, their purpose is prospective.
The reviews focus on identifying trends, patterns, and obstacles in services while also assessing agency interventions and, most importantly, developing practical recommendations aimed to improving the system and prevent future injury or death in the state of Delaware.
The study also shows 46% of victims are murdered while attempting to leave or end a relationship. Reporting from Wilmington, I'm Carl Konevsky, 1150 AM, WDEL.
Prosecutors will explain today why all charges have been dropped against an Ocean City, Maryland woman who was accused of killing her newborn child and keeping remains of dead babies around her home. Police say charges are being dismissed against Christy Freeman because of a lack of evidence from the medical examiner's report. Freeman was originally charged with killing a baby in July, but those charges were later dropped after an autopsy showed the baby was stillborn. Prosecutors later charged her with killing another child in 2004. Coming up, new details in the battle over Newark's reservoir. WDEL News continues in a moment.
Delmarva Broadcasting and DelmarvaJobs.com will host the first area-wide virtual job fair. From September 10th through 23rd, browse through hundreds of job listings from dozens of companies and apply immediately online. Visit DelmarvaJobs.com. The Delmarva Virtual Job Fair, presented by the Winner Automotive Group.
I'm Peter MacArthur.
I'm Melanie Armstrong, and here are Delaware's top stories at the top of the hour.
The most complete coverage of the news that matters in Delaware. Every weekday morning, 5:30 till 9 on 1150 AM WDEL.
Newark won't be getting a new trial in a dispute with a contractor hired to build the city's reservoir. Newark asked a federal judge to reduce or throw out a jury's award of more than $36 million to Durkin Contracting in a breach of contract complaint. The city fired Durkin before the job was done. The judge says he will reconsider the nearly $12 million awarded to Durkin that may have violated state law. An anonymous online tip to county cops leads to a Wilmington man police say was growing pot in his backyard. Police say they found marijuana growing in planters behind Jeffrey Wright's house on Sexton Drive in Bellevue Manor. A search of the house also turned up heroin. Wright's out on bail. The United Way of Delaware launches its annual fundraising campaign. WDEL's Carl Konevsky reports there's a new twist this year.
It's an ambitious fundraising goal for this year's United Way campaign.
Our goal this year is $22 million. It's a $500,000 more than our goal last year. And the exciting thing is we've already got $5.2 million in hand through our Pacesetter campaign from the summer.
That's United Way of Delaware President Drew Langlow, who says supporting the Community Impact Fund is the most effective way to do the most good for the most member agencies. Connie Bond Stewart, president of PNC Bank and one of the co-chairs of this year's fundraising effort, says the organization will work to fund programs with long-term benefits, a paradigm shift from the old way to the United Way.
Working collaboratively with the state, with the private sector, with lots of nonprofits at the table, all collectively trying to figure out what is the best way to fix these problems for the long run. And that's a strategic change in direction for United Way.
The campaign runs through late December. Reporting from Wilmington, I'm Carl Konevsky, 1150 AM, WDEL.
Bill Cosby's making yet another trip to Wilmington today. He's meeting with students at Sarah Pyle Academy to talk with them about staying in school and looking forward to their future. Cosby visited the West End Neighborhood House in January and appeared at the Delaware State Fair this summer. A streak comes to an end for the Phillies. WDEL Sports and AccuWeather are coming up.
As you look for your college experience, make sure you look at Wilmington College, your key to success.
In WDEL Sports, Yadier Molina singled home the winning run from second base in the 10th inning to give the St. Louis Cardinals a 2-1 win over the Phillies. That snapped the Phils' 6-game winning streak and dropped them to 2.5 games behind the Mets in the National League East race and 2.5 behind San Diego in the wild card. The only run the Phillies could score came in the 6th on an RBI double by Pat Burrell. They had their chance. The Phils left 2 men on base in each of the last 3 innings. The Phillies open a 4-game series in Washington tonight with Kyle Loesch on the mound against Jason Bergman. We'll have all the action on WDEL starting at 6:30. Donovan McNabb is defending his comments on HBO that black quarterbacks face greater scrutiny than their white counterparts. The Eagles quarterback says it's just reality, and that's something he and other quarterbacks have been part of. The controversy comes as the Eagles are getting ready to face the Detroit Lions and try to win their first game of the year. Eagles running back Brian Westbrook suffered a knee injury against Washington on Monday night, and even though he played the whole game, his status for Sunday's up in the air. If he doesn't start, Correll Buckholder will start in his place. Your WDEL Delaware AccuWeather forecast. Sunshine and clouds today, the high 80. Clear tonight, the low 54. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, the high 82. Saturday, sunny to partly cloudy, the high 87. Get news updates throughout the day. Delaware's top stories at the top of the hour on 1150 AM WDEL or anytime right here at WDEL.com. I'm Melanie Armstrong. Thanks for watching.